The following was taken from the DDD, Delaware Development District 2023 story map, and showcases the people, places, and LLCs behind those who took the handouts in the town of Milford. Additionally, and most importantly, the same people reveal how they use shell companies to hide the flow of money throughout real estate. In 2014, the state of Delaware created a program that gives million-dollar handouts to business and property owners who are to use their government handout to, in the program's own words, spur private capital investment, stimulate job growth and improve commercial vitality, build a stable community of long-term residents, and help municipalities strengthen neighborhoods while harnessing the attraction that vibrant downtowns hold for businesses and residents. Local governments identify an area in their downtown for revitalization and develop a district plan and local incentives. The Office of State Planning Coordination facilitates the application process for designation as a district. There are currently 12 districts. The city of Milford was designated a district in 2016. The program notes within its summary, the Downtown Development District Act, otherwise known as DDD, was established to facilitate private investment in designated business corridors and adjacent neighborhoods, addressing financial barriers and redevelopment challenges in downtown areas. The program also states that rebates are limited to $2 million per building or facility within a 5-year period, and that the project must be completed and placed in service before the rebate will be issued. As good as all of this might sound on paper, it will soon be revealed how this program is yet another way for the wealthiest to receive government handouts under the guise of revitalization and affordable housing, while using a trove of shell companies to do it. Between 2015 and 2020, Milford received over $21 million in private investment and almost $3 million in government handouts provided by the state of Delaware to revitalize neighborhoods and areas within the town that face financial barriers. Below is a condensed list of the designated Milford recipients who received government handouts to renovate and revitalize their own properties and self-interests, contrary to the program's rules. Those pictured below represent the LLC used to receive their handout. Shell companies are typically used as a tool to help cloak the identity of those using them, however, not when those companies are used to purchase real estate. Within this short list of handout recipients is an out-of-state Secretary of State, a Delaware senator, several husband and wife real estate teams, and those with international real estate interests. And that's not even scratching the surface. The places. This is the list of project successes taken from the DDD 2023 story map, which may be found anywhere online. There will also be a link within the video description. The people. These are some of the most significant government handout recipients from the city of Milford, Delaware. Significant in that most of them received one or more PPP loans on top of the DDD handout money, while they all simultaneously received one or more mortgages on the same properties linked to their PPP loans and DDD handout money. If that's not enough to blow your hair back, also consider many of them claim one property to be 2 or more properties in order to get more money through loans and grants, but to make matters even worse, many of these people have international interests and real estate ties. Believe it or not, this is still the tip of the iceberg. However, the good news is moderate effort was made on their part to conceal their identities. Even though there's multiple addresses, phone numbers, and names, and of course shell companies, their effort was, like I said, moderate, and therefore their trail was simple enough to piece together. First up is ex-mayor of Milford and currently a representative within Delaware's General Assembly and Smyrna Rentals, LLC, a company owned by professional accountant Dana F. Watte. However, almost immediately after Smyrna Rentals, LLC received their government handouts, ownership was then quickly transferred over to Brian Shupe, owner of Mispillion Way, LLC with the address 344 Stagecoach Circle. Also, Brian Shupe is the one who created Delaware's DDD program. Representative Brian Shupe is tied to several LLCs. The two shown here are Miss Pillion Gateway LLC and Miss Pillion Way LLC. The Miss Pillion Gateway shows a different address, however, it will later be shown this is Representative Shupe. The address here for Miss Pillion Way is 3048 Stagecoach Circle, whereas the prior address was 3044 Stagecoach Circle. This is because Stagecoach Circle is a large housing development similar to the rest of the housing developments that have devoured most of Delaware's forest and farmland. A common practice between these real estate fraudsters is to use properties within their developments as LLC addresses. Unfortunately, another common practice for these fraudsters is their usage of unwitting immigrants and migrants to help give their fraudulent residential developments the appearance of being lived in, when in fact that is not the case. Representative Brian Shupe is clearly shown to be the owner of both Miss Pillion Way LLC and Miss Pillion Gateway LLC, according to the reputable online sources Open Corporates and OpenGov Use. Aside from all the real estate fraud, I sure am glad Representative Shupe is out there protecting my rights to access information. God bless. Even though Representative Brian Shupe owns both Miss Pillion Way LLC and Miss Pillion Gateway LLC, this fact was omitted during a City of Milford Council meeting that took place Wednesday, December 16, 2020. Miss Pillion Gateway LLC requested a conditional use permit to allow a car detailing operation on the premises of the owned property. However, the request was on behalf of Grant Shane, not Representative Shupe, owner of Miss Pillion Gateway LLC. Miss Pillion Gateway LLC has so many addresses associated with it that it took me a minute to find its core location. Quoting an article from Delaware Online, Shupe also is the owner of an online media outlet called Milford Live and co-owns the Fur Baby Boutique and Doggy Daycare with his wife Sherry. Representative Shupe referred to Milford Live as an online media outlet. On May 1, 2020, Representative Shupe received a government handout for $8,000 as owner of a company he completely blanked on when asked what kind of business Milford Live was when filling out his federal loan application for free money. He didn't blank on that Stagecoach address, though. Let's not forget the representative's wife, Sherry, Shupe's co-owner of Fur Baby Boutique LLC. Representative Shupe, seen here crunching his LLC numbers, was also found to have a Facebook page directly linking him and his wife Sherry to Miss Pillion Gateway and one of its many locations. Lastly, the address Representative Shupe's wife Sherry put down on their federal PPP loan was 204 Northeast Front Street in Milford. The owner address of Fur Baby Boutique is 16 Fleming Street in Harrington, Delaware, an address that is linked to yet another DDD recipient in this list that will come up later. Now let's meet DDD recipient, 39 North Walnut LLC. 39 North Walnut LLC is owned by married couple Zachary and Marissa King, a couple seen here on their online wedding registry touting a diamond so heavy she obviously needed support holding it up for the photo shoot. Married July 11, 2020, yet created a company on December 3, 2020 using her maiden name. The following was taken from the Kent County Public Record, Marissa Cordell King's Land Records, that show her deeding and mortgaging property to herself using various LLCs. This is also another common practice among fraudsters who use shell companies throughout their real estate transactions. In addition to receiving government handouts that helped the couple open up their third physical business venture, Fondue, Marissa, and Zachary also own a restaurant and bar called Easy Speak, whose address and ownership also vary. 39 North Walnut is home to more than just Zach and Marissa's new restaurant and bar. In fact, 39 North Walnut is also home to the couple's 5-unit AirBnb revenue stream. To reiterate, the DDD program was designed to build stable communities of long-term residents and to help those addressing financial barriers and redevelopment challenges, as well as stimulate job growth. A bed and breakfast is an operation that specializes in temporary stays, not a stable community of long-term residents. At first glance, it becomes easy to see why Airbnb considers their rentals to be rare finds, since they're all listed for $45 per night. Until that $100 cleaning fee jumps out at you. Even though their $45 advertisement is misleading, the couple still managed to rake in over 600 reviews in a 7-year time frame. I'm going to repeat that. Over a 7-year time frame. That statement was worth repeating because for 7 years, they've been bringing in $165 for each unit per stay. So how did they qualify as facing financial barriers or challenges? The only thing the DDD program did and continues to do, to give people like Zach and Marissa free government money to fancy up their already existing places, so they can in turn put more money into their own pockets. Why would the state of Delaware give taxpayer money to people who used it to dramatically inflate the real estate market in the city of Milford? Again, these people received government handouts. Hello Masu LLC is another good example of yet another common trick often used within real estate fraud. Dana Galoff, trustee, owner of Hello Masu LLC, received 3 different kickbacks for the same place, but from 3 different angles. I shit you not. Then there's the company Mautiste LLC, which happens to be owned by a parent company in the state of Pennsylvania, which in turn is owned by the Secretary of State. Next, there's Friend of a Farmer LLC, a German-based company who was also given a government handout from the state of Delaware. This company received government handouts to renovate their property enough so that they could rent it for $3,500 a month. Note the other rental property rates for the Milford area: $2,300 per month, $2,100 per month. Jared Bowers, also known as the Bowers Group LLC, among other things. Jared's address is located at 16 Fleming Street in Harrington, Delaware. The same address used by Fur Baby Boutique, this business owned by both Representative Brian Shoup and his wife, Sherry. Milford's premier couple, Joseph and Renata Wiley. Together, this couple owns a good portion of properties and businesses within the city of Milford. Together, this couple received DDD funding under different shell companies, as well as their physical businesses. From an outside perspective, this couple seems charitable and noble in their efforts to revitalize their community. However, nothing could be further from the truth, as the companies linked to the couple prove to have unsavory ties. Like most fraudsters during the COVID pandemic, the Wileys couldn't help themselves when the Paycheck Protection Program was introduced by the Small Business Administration. The Wileys received hundreds of thousands of dollars just through the Paycheck Protection Program alone. Mind you, this was simultaneous to them also receiving DDD funding. Probably the most distressing factor in relation to the Wileys is their political influence, a reach that has spanned for decades and based on fraud. Let's now turn our focus onto Wavecrest LLC and 200 Front LLC. The two main fraudsters behind these companies are so asshole deep in fraudulent deeds, titles, mortgages, and government handouts that condensing it to its most relevant parts for this video was a real challenge. The members of Wavecrest LLC are John Damian Didamaso, shown on the left giving his best impersonation a douche canoe, Kevin Craig, shown walking the red carpet with his wife at the 2023 Dicks of Dewey Gala held in Dewey Beach, Delaware, and finally Mark Wilson, shown on the right not quite understanding the maths, a man who appears out of thin air, becomes a member of Wavecrest LLC when needed, then disappears again only to work for Kevin Craig at one of his other money funnelers. Here's a short list of 845 companies found in Delaware to have JD in their names. Do I think they're all John D. Damaso? Probably not. However, the dates always give them away. Not just these fraudsters, but all of them. Another common practice used among those who use shell companies within real estate is forming most, if not all, their LLCs on and around the same time frame. Also, notice the names of each LLC and how they each correlate with the address they'll be used with. The Spotlight. Introducing Daniel Livingston Bond. Mr. Bond is the closest thing to royalty he thinks he is to the city of Milford. If you think that statement's too bold, then consider this as his house, on Front Street, in the middle of town, painted pink. Also, there was no exaggeration when I said the Spotlight. Daniel Livingston Bond was given the Investor Spotlight in the DDD program's 2023 annual report. Some of the highlights from Mr. Bond's spotlight include, with a background in architecture and finance, Dan Bond has developed and invested in communities across the world. If his gut tells him it is good for the community, he finds a way to make it work. Dan is able to pursue the more challenging projects because he has learned over time how to use different incentives and resources that can help private investors overcome barriers to redevelopment. Note here, Mr. Bond left out the word financial before the word barriers. Returning to the summary highlights, Bond's innovative way of stacking incentives has allowed him to pursue high-impact projects that benefit the community while also ensuring investors receive a profit. Dan Bond himself is a value-added Delaware incentive. What both the DDD program's 2023 report spotlight on Daniel Bond failed to mention was, along with Bond's ability to stack incentives, he also stacks mortgages, which is easily proven using the Kent County Public Record. So what exactly did Mr. Livingston Bond receive handouts for? One of the many projects Mr. Livingston Bond received money for through the DDD program was his own bed and breakfast, commonly referred to as the Towers. To reiterate Mr. Bond's spotlight, Dan used state and federal historic tax credits and the DDD rebate to restore the Towers bed and breakfast building in the town's historic district. The thing is, Mr. Livingston Bond has owned the Towers going back further than 1992, yet the DDD Spotlight summary article on Mr. Livingston Bond didn't quite word it that way. Delaware has given Mr. Bond millions in government handouts that were to be used towards projects that would provide jobs and create affordable housing within the town of Milford. Mr. Livingston Bond's real estate and financial interests span beyond Milford and the United States. So what makes Daniel Livingston Bond Delaware's biggest asset? In Daniel L. Bond's own words taken from his online resume, Managing Director, Chief Country Risk Officer, AMF Guarantee, March 2010, present. Ascending Markets Finance Guarantee is a startup financial guarantor that will operate primarily in the domestic capital markets of developing countries around the world. Dr. Bond in charge of all research projects and will be responsible for analyzing country risks on AMF's transactions. Chief Economist, Mountain Pacific Group, April 2008, present part-time consultant. Mountain Pacific Group is an asset management firm based in Bellevue, Washington. Dr. Bond currently works for MPC or Mountain Pacific Group as a part-time consultant. He serves as the company's chief economist and focuses primarily on country risk assessment for their international investments. Global clearinghouse for development finance, developing innovative financial solutions and scalable capacity-building tools that mobilize the private sector for development and improve business-enabling environments. Ambach Assurance Corporation provides comprehensive financial guarantees for municipal and structured finance bonds issued in the United States and many other countries. Ambach has not had to pay any claims to date on its guaranteed portfolio of over $5 billion of emerging market debt. Since 2009, Dr. Bond has been working on global DF projects in Tanzania and Uganda, supported by the UN Capital Development Fund. Dr. Bond's work highlights include Vice President and Chief Economist, Export-Import Bank of the United States, 1988-1997, Washington, D.C. Dr. Bond is charge of all international public finance ratings at both the sovereign and sub-sovereign levels. Dr. Bond also served as Exim Bank's representative to the Berne Union from 1988 to 1997. Senior international economist, Joint Economic Committee of the U.S. Congress, 1987-1988, Washington, D.C. Dr. Bond was responsible for the development and application of an economic model of the Soviet economy, SovMod. Dr. Bond received his Ph.D. in Planning and Economics from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Dr. Bond has provided advice to a number of national and sub-sovereign governments in conjunction with both World Bank, U.S. Agency for International Development, and OECD efforts to encourage these entities to obtain credit agencies as a means to access private sector financing and as a tool for good governance. So hats off to Dr. Livingston Bond, Delaware's treasure, Milford royalty. Though the plan was to end this video using Dr. Livingston Bond, however, there was one last-minute contender to add to this candy bowl of frauds. 401 Mispillion Street. 401 Mispillion Street is one of the many development projects owned by Delaware State Senator Russell Huxtable. Yes, that's right, Cosby Show fans. Russell Huxtable. Mispillion Street Partners, which is an entity that does not exist, is owned by Russell Huxtable, for which Huxtable received almost $2 million in DDD funding in both 2019 and 2020 for a project that hasn't even broken ground yet, which is actually a win for nature since the 401 Mispillion Street area is one of the last remaining places for the geese to rest close to the river. However, it's definitely a loss for money laundering through real estate. Unfortunately, each person listed within this video has an extensive trail of real estate fraud that follows them. So extensive, in fact, that it would be too overwhelming to take in all at one time, which is why this video is to serve merely as an introduction into a much more complex web of shell companies, developments, government officials, and international interests. Something interesting to note about this photo of Russell Huxtable for some Delaware Ego Trip magazine, that a skid. What are you passionate about? To which Russell Huxtable replied, my passion is affordable housing. Which is funny when it's considered how blatantly honest he's being in his response. His passion is affordable housing, something he has more than proved throughout Delaware's Kent and Sussex County public records alone, as the records would also agree. Huxtable does love his affordable housing money pits. In closing, I find it fitting to add a screenshot taken from my computer when listening to the February 16, 2024 opinion, or ruling, given by Judge Engeron, the judge who presided over the New York City civil fraud trial case against Donald J. Trump. Mr. Trump's attorneys relentlessly argued that despite there being a basis of fraud throughout all of Donald Trump's mortgage and other financial documents, he made his payments on time. Judge Engeron's response was as follows: timely and total repayment of loans does not extinguish the harm that false statements inflict on the marketplace. Indeed, the common excuse that everybody does it is all the more reason to strive for honesty and transparency and to be vigilant in enforcing the rules. Here, despite the false financial statements, it is undisputed that defendants have made all required payments on time. The next group of lenders to receive bogus statements might not be so lucky. New York means business in combating business fraud. What Judge Engeron basically said here was that it does not matter that loan payments were made on time when they were all based on false information to begin with. This is a ruling that needs to be referred to every chance it gets. So what does it mean when almost all the land and property transactions turn out to have been gained through fraudulent means? These are the same people evicting families so they can use government handouts to falsely inflate the value of properties they own in order to drive up, again, falsely drive up, property value, resulting in a housing market based on fraud itself, which in turn results in a map that looks like this. Good thing. The majority of these people also couldn't help themselves when it came to the COVID handouts, loans that were specifically designed to help those employed by the owner, not for the owner. However, their greed combined with a general lack of willpower drew so many of them to that PPPP honeypot, so to speak. In doing so, they were sloppy and could not keep up with their addresses, industries, and company names, which in turn makes catching them super way easier than just using the county public record and Facebook. Take a good look at this beautiful, handcrafted GIF as it pertains to how the wealthiest saw the SBA's Paycheck Protection Program. A honeypot is how the entire thing should be viewed. Also, take a good look at Jose Quinones, a real estate broker and owner of Linda Vista Real Estate, who saved one job with his government handout, his own. To reiterate, this video is merely an introduction into the plague called real estate fraud. There are way more people, places, and LLCs involved, and way more people, places, and LLCs to be summarized, showcased, and uploaded. Please note, this video is compliant with the Fair Use Act, and that this video, along with all the videos uploaded to my channel, were not created to be monetized, and therefore, production value of what gets uploaded will come with a not trying to be the next Spielberg guarantee. Thank you for watching.